Happy Easter, everyone! My name is Walter Norantha, the author of Walter's Springland. Throughout the 5 steps, we'll learn how to imagine, write, study, try, and publish a book in a step-by-step writing process. But there's one more tip I haven't advised, or in this case, there is one issue in their books that writers sometimes haven't addressed. Taking constructive criticism. Okay, let's be real here. Taking constructive criticism will be the most frustrating process a writer could ever receive from their reader's voice. No matter how perfectly written the story is, you'll still open up to criticism about the characters being two-dimensional, noticing plot holes, and so forth. However, on the bright side, not all criticism are all pitchforks and tortures necessarily. Some criticism are useful to fix your story in a constructively clear sense, and some are unnecessary nitpicks like this book sucks and that's it, without any evidence backing up. So how do you take criticism lightly without feeling discouraged? Well, it starts with an H: humility. You must love their reader's response as much as yourself, and identify which feedbacks are useful or useless to fix your story, even if their criticism sounds harsh. For example, if the reader positively says, "Hey, I love how you wrap up the main character's arc very nicely, but there's some pacing issues that makes the ending tedious. Can you fix that?" And then you reply, "Sure, why not? Thank you for your feedbacks. It means a lot to my rewriting process." But if there's a hater feedback who doesn't know how to critique a story in any ways and say, "Why is the whole plot so boring? Where's the action? Can you at least make the character fight immediately?" Maybe? Okay, I'll ask you for clarification in the discussion. If you're still not interested in my book, that's okay. You can just leave after we're done. So basically, you must respect your reader's subjective view of your book with kindness and thankfulness for their feedbacks, as well as for giving their disinterest to your book. So be nice to your reader. Simple, right? Not exactly. Another obstacle you have to be aware of when receiving criticism is your ego. Ego is one of the common reasons why writers rejected their criticism in the first place. Not because they don't like how their response sounded like, but because they don't think their feedbacks doesn't fit the story they want to write personally. So if you disagree with the reader's feedback, either positive or negative, you have to be aware of your ego before you explode. "No! This scene is too important to be removed, and it needs to matter for the subplot." Until later on you realize the scene didn't change the overall story at all. Congratulations! You have ignored their feedbacks. To overcome this egotistical problem, ask yourself, am I making a story that's appealing to my perspective, but it doesn't fit their view of my story correctly? Or should I follow their advice to change the story to fit the objective view for the wider audience, but at the cost of abandoning my original story vision with a sour taste in my mouth? That is ego in spoken words. So essentially, you have to let go of your selfish agendas and accept their feedbacks generously. If you're still not convinced, let me illustrate the first time I experienced ego just so you can feel this process. Back in the last year when we were in the car, I asked my brother Ariel to discuss my early draft of the 3rd book, which he agrees. And it was a mixed reception. He asked me, "Where's the world building? What's the thematic lesson that this book teaches? And aren't kids' books supposed to be black and white instead of a morally gray story?" And I replied, "It's a story about self-control, controlling yourself to resist negative emotions with maturity and kindness." And yes, I told him it was a morally gray story. So what's the result? He wants my book to be a black and white story that's simple to understand for kids. And it will be weird if we don't know how the school look like from the inside more than just the word, well, school, textually. He kind of liked the theme of my story, and looking at my drafts right now, I can honestly agree with him to change it back to a black and white story. However, there's a bit of a problem that makes me want to argue back because I really want the antagonist Kinwewe to be as sympathetic as Walter. If it's a black and white story, then Kinwewe's motivation without his backstory will never make sense as to why he's attacking Walter in the first place. He also argues that morally gray stories is less kid-friendly than the black and white stories, so I have to find a way to make a character sympathetic to a younger audience without complicating it into a gray story that the book tries to teach self-control. That's the challenging issue I will fix in the future. So after that heated debate, I went to my bed and I was very stressed out. So stressed out that I covered my irritated chest before exploding with ego as I repeat, "Thank you, Ariel," 7 times in my head. Then I went out of my bed and said, "Ariel, thank you so much for commenting my book," and he replied, "You're welcome," as I hugged him with forgiveness. Now, notice that I didn't belittle him nor blame him furiously for viewing my story wrong. No, I just accepted it with compassion, and at the end of the day, it was all just his opinion. To agree or to disagree, whether objective or subjective. In fact, every people is built different, and that's okay. Remember when I told you the theme of the third book? Controlling yourself to resist negative emotions with maturity and kindness. So whenever you feel like patting your ego, hold your horses and don't shout at your reader, otherwise they'll just leave. Focus on guiding your beta readers, whether it's your friend or family, what they think about the story and which flaw they can point out for your rewrite. It all depends on which criticism is true or false to your story, but having the creative control of your book will make you identify it easily. So what can we take from constructive criticism? 1. Just because your idea is special doesn't mean they will always agree. The point of writing a book is for authors to enjoy reading it and express their positive or negative impressions. And 2, without any feedbacks, you won't improve as an author. That's why it's important to let go of your ego politely, even if you disagree with them deep down. So accept the flaw of your script that needs to be addressed by the editor. Because 3, not only listening to their criticism makes you motivated as a diligent writer, but also trains you to be teachable and selflessly wise, rather than relying on yourself without any help. And finally 4, when readers critique your book, they don't mean to always shatter your dream as an author. They critique your work because they want you to be a better writer and logically fix your book with the best draft it can possibly be enjoyable for any readers, and it's not the end of the world. So in conclusion, successful writers like J.K. Rowling, Tolkien, and Stephen King in the early days of their writing careers all grow from their mistakes exposed by their readers' criticism and what their book is represented in the eyes of public readers. It is why their books are critically successful for a decade because of their, well, criticism. And it's the same principle applies to every feedback process we know today. And so is teachability. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon to be notified in my next video. And I'll see you there. Be kind and be thankful for the criticism. Bye bye.